Hi, y'all, and welcome to my metamorphosis. If you're new, welcome. I am so glad you're here. And of course, I'm always glad to see the folks who have been with me since the beginning. I'm just glad everybody's here because that means that I'm not talking to myself. Today, I am going to just share with you a little bit of information that I found in this book called The Body by Anthony Smith. It came out in 1968. Incidentally, that's not 1969 like I had said in the previous video, so I apologize for that, but I did want to correct myself. Anyhow, uh, it discusses sugar and how John Yudkin had done research to indicate that sugar, rather than saturated fat, is causing the increase in atherosclerosis. Um, it starts by saying that a writer to the Lancet in 1964 said, "The refining of sugar may yet prove to have been a greater tragedy for civilized man than the discovery of tobacco." And, that statement is probably, I would say that statement is accurate, actually. But it goes on to discuss the research done by Professor John Yudkin and Ms. Janet Roddy. On July 4th, 1964, they had published a paper called Levels of Dietary Sucrose in Patients with Occlusive Arteriosclerotic Disease. It was an exceptionally important paper. For years, fats have been harangued for their suspected role in arterial disease. And for years, sugars have been relatively free of such insinuations. The joint paper presented current evidence that sugar rather than fat is responsible, and it added that sugar was more likely culprit on evolutionary and historical grounds. Not only had the authors discovered evidence of association between high sugar intake and arterial and heart disease, but also the increasing consumption of sugar mirrored the increasing incidence of cardiovascular diseases. The rise in fat consumption, where such a rise even exists, is much less positive than the meteoric rise in sugar intake. Now, many in this community, the low carb, keto, carnivore community, have heard this information before. And we can say it in our sleep. However, I guess what's so shocking to me is seeing it in print in a book that came out at that time. As I said, the science has not been decided at all. It hadn't been back then. And in fact, there was evidence to show that it was sugar rather than saturated fat. And of course, we all know what ended up happening. So just seeing it in print like that just really, I guess, brings it home to me because it it confirms what we read online. And I don't know about you, but seeing it in print versus reading something on the internet still is just a different experience for me. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the internet and I love reading ebooks, as a matter of fact, but I also collect history books and textbooks, and I like to see the perspective of things from the point of view back then versus what we think of those same things today. That makes sense. So I just thought that you would find that fascinating. And I just am still, if I didn't know how things ended up, if I were to read this book, I would sort of be leaning toward, well, it's probably sugar instead of saturated fat, especially since humans have been eating fat for so many years and, for ever since they had become humans, whereas sugar was not available to us at all. So I just thought you might find that fascinating. So I am again, just so glad that you all are with me on this journey. I'll be releasing an N equals one video here pretty soon, so be on the lookout for that. And just you all take care, good health, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye bye.